Welcome in to the Palace. So we are going to do a little bit of a small talk show today. I got 5 talking points I want to talk to you guys on. And on those talking points, excuse me as I get set up, on those talking points, we are going to discuss, continue our justice series, particularly around morals. Talking about today, move my chair up a little bit. Talking about today, as of course we always keep the tree of life behind us, but we're going to talk about today um, morals in a sense of how it affects maybe judgment, our justice system. We're going to be live in a few places: TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Riverside, and there's a Lemonade. There's a whole bunch of other places that the live is going to be streaming to, so you can jump in from anywhere that you want. Um, and so, guys, today is mostly just a listening session. Feel free to, if you're in the TikTok area, tap the screen, share out the live. YouTube, like and subscribe. It is The Palace Crime, The Palace Crime on YouTube. And of course, you guys know Facebook, Cordon Bleu. And Riverside is The Palace Crime as well. So I'm going to be shifting back and forth because I don't have my iPad right in front of me. And it is a little bit later tonight, guys. We're getting started at 10 o'clock, but we're going to make this a quick one. So I wanted to talk to everyone just to bring up in our series so that way we don't get too far behind. Like I said, today's conversation is going to be about morals. Nacho, welcome in. Morals within our justice system, right? Does it show a bias? Does it cause an unfairness in our justice system when it comes to people morals? So, look, here's the thing: morals is based off an individual's understanding of right and wrong. Okay? Again, morals are based off of an individual's understanding of right and wrong, which is why we always have different and varying opinions. Some people may be more forgiving about certain topics and behaviors and discussions than others would be, right? And so some of us say, really, seriously, they got mad about that. And other people are the far opposite side. We're like, oh my God, I can't believe they said such and such, right? Those are those morals kicking in. And it's not to say that either person is right or wrong, it's just what's for that person. So, what shapes that, right? What shapes that could be religion, culture, um, your upbringing, right? It's safe to say that someone who may live in a more prestigious side of the town or city or country, if you will, um, than a more poverty stricken side, they may have different styles of upbringing, right? It may be very common to walk down the road and see bullets flying, and kiddos ages 6 maybe carrying their own weapon. It may be very common to see that, to where you go to a different side of the town 10, 15 minutes down the road, and it could be a culture shock to see that a child is doing such behaviors, right? Life experiences also shape people's morals. People's morals can be very in stone up until a certain life change occurs, and it suddenly shifts your position and your logic, right? Remember in our last series, we talked about people and their logical reasoning and the ability to have critical thinking in today's world. And then the last one is their political and social beliefs, right? And so political and the social beliefs kind of tie in with cultures, right? Because you get those cultural norms based on the social groups that you hang out with. LAC, welcome in. That you hang out with, and then suddenly some of your views may shift to them, or vice versa, they may shift to you. And again, everybody, we're streaming live on Riverfront, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. YouTube is The Palace Crime. Facebook, Cordon Bleu. And then TikTok, of course, we all know Mr. Palace, Bodacious Designs. And same thing on Riverside, The Palace Crime. So we're streaming on 4 or 5 different platforms at once. So welcome in. Feel free to tap the screen, share out the live at wherever you are. Subscribe if you're on the YouTube. So let's talk about something. I got a question that I wrote down here. Um, think about this. So we just went over the morals and the background. So you have a judge who's charged with the decision to decide, you know, how they interpret the crime for someone's behavior. Okay, and so example I have for you: a judge may strongly believe in someone's personal responsibility skills, right? Means you did a crime, you own up to it, and you take that personal responsibility. And that judge may be more lenient on you because they say, you know what, Darius owned up to that crime, and you know we're going to punish him, but it's not going to be as hard because he didn't give any excuses, right? Take that same concept and you say, we take a struggling mom and she's lost her job. She's applied to over 30 jobs in the last 2 weeks, has not landed anything, including an interview. Um, Mom's baby, she has a 6-month-old baby, and mom has officially run out of money. She has no food in the house. She's not breastfeeding. So mom says, "Hey, I'm just going to go to Walmart. I'm going to smuggle 2 cans of, you know, Enfamil formula, and I just got to do what I got to do to get my baby by. I'll survive without eating or drinking water, but my baby has to." Mom gets charged with shoplifting because she gets busted. Goes to court, tells the judge the whole sob story, right? And judge is like, "There's never an excuse on why you should steal, blah 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 blah," right? Even though mom may have had a, in her mind, a great reason of why she did it, and she was doing it to protect her child's hunger, to make sure they didn't go without. Um, that judge didn't like that excuse because she didn't say, "Hey, this is my fault. You know, I put myself in this position X, Y, and Z." Some people in this world, with their morals, they have a mindset that if you are in the lower poverty region, that's your fault. You chose to stay there, and if you want to get out, you have the power to get up and get out. That's not always true. D'Angelo, welcome in. That's not always true. Some may choose to live in those environments and never get out, but for the most part, um, that's not really a true statement. I'd probably say it's a 51-49, and that 51 and 49 will flip flop depending on the circumstance. Um, so, look, number two talking point that we got today. Thank you for coming in. Jeremiah, what's up? Welcome in. Ken, what's up? Welcome in. So, number two that we're talking about today on our morals and judgments, the ability to influence credibility, I have written down, right? So, morals can make people unconsciously or subconsciously favor certain individuals over others. What do we mean by that? We all have our gossip groups, right? And so we get in and we get a little gossip going. And somebody, you know, I made a joke to somebody the other day, and I thought it was, you know, hilarious. Actually, I didn't think it was hilarious. I just made a statement to try to die down something. But I said, "Hey, uh, you better leave X, Y, and Z alone, because if they keep starting shit with the other person, you're gonna have a Columbine in here." And some people chuckled, but there were some people who were like way majorly offended, right? And so, to the ones that were major offended, that took away from my credibility. That took away from my brand, right? To the people that knew me and they understood who I was and they were a part of my audience, they that didn't bother them really that much, right? And so you have to always understand who your audiences are when you're in certain situations, right? Especially when we're talking our justice system. You have to understand the persona, right? If I'm in a courtroom and I'm a defendant rather than, you know, a complainant, and I'm accused of something, and there's a jury that I'm sitting by or a judge, and I'm slouched in the chair like this, or you know, I'm not empathetic to the situation, I'm not sympathetic to whatever's happening, you know, I'm just like, whatever, right? Um, that could be my way of dealing with grief, first of all, and trauma, right? I could have already cried all my tears all the way up to trial and all of that. My give a damn could have been busted well before I got to that courtroom. Um, but at the same time, someone else may look and say, that person's not serious. Look at their demeanor. I would never go in a courtroom and do this or that. And it's hard to say what you would do unless you've been in that situation. Uh, because that person probably has felt so defeated and beat up to where they're just like, well, damn, at this point, I'm just ready for all of this to be over. It don't matter what my side is. It don't matter how remorseful I am. Nobody's going to believe me. And so that takes away from that, right? And to go a step further, you just take a law enforcement official, right? Um, a lot of us have the mindset that if we're on a jury, we may say, hey, look, that law enforcement official, um, they're most likely telling the truth because they're sworn officers of the law. And there is a penalty for showing up to court as a sworn officer of the law, and you're lying on the stand, especially if you get caught on the stand. So a lot of people put that automatic trust. And we forget that officers are human. Any law enforcement, any personnel of any profession is human. I often ask people, I said, hey, isn't it true that you can always trust a liar to tell a lie, but you can't always trust the person who tells the truth to tell the truth always? Meaning that if you put so much faith in the person who tells the truth to always 100% tell the truth, you'll never know when it's time for them to stab you in the back. So think about that. Jonathan, welcome in, Wolfpack. What's up, brother? Hey, I got to get with you because I do want you on my series. We got to do a series. I want you. We're live on 5 platforms right now, and I want you, Wolfpack, I want you doing the same thing that I'm doing, live in 5 different places at one time. That way we're not jumping all over. We get to reach every single audience out there and push out on multiple platforms. Something I'm pushing all of my creators to do, guys. So topic number 3 that we're looking at, guys, under our same justice series today, again, is morality. On our same justice series. And I'm going to have a morality question for you guys. So stick around. Tap the screen, share the live, stick around, because we are going to have a question for you when it comes to morality. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I use a app called, guys, I'm going to take a quick commercial break. Commercial break here is going to be brought to you by Ryzen, who I use on my fabulous, who's providing my fabulous webcam here today. I'm not sponsored, but I did buy it. Ryzen is fantastic. It has my built-in microphone, HD Pro camera. Get it at your local Walmart, Best Buys, and all that stuff. And as we do in the Palace, get out of here, right? So I'm not using Studio Live. I'm using StreamKey OBS that I've then connected to TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Riverside, the platform that I'm using. So I can definitely get you a stream key. Make sure you send me a message. It takes about 2-3 weeks because TikTok is slow. But we definitely can get that for you and get you up and going. But I think as long as you're able to juggle plugging 5 of them into one platform at a time, I think you'll be good with that. Studio Live I broke up with a long time ago. It was just too complicated for no reason. LAC, thank you for the taps and shares. I appreciate it. You have OBS? Then perfect. So the stream key and everything that you use, put that, that TikTok into that. Now, unless you pay for OBS, it kind of limits you to how many you can stream at one time. I use a website called Riverside, riverside.fm. And it lets you do up to 6 for free. You get a lot of editing materials for free, and it performs with AI. So those videos that you see of me recapping and doing segments in my conversations with you guys here on these platforms, it automatically takes my highlights and my most passionate speaking moments, and it turns those into 30-second clips, which works great for TikTok, 30 seconds to a minute, whatever I tell it to. I have it set for about 38 to 45 seconds because I don't really want a full minute. But it takes that. I can upload it to TikTok at that point. I can upload it to YouTube, to my YouTube Shorts. And it works great. Works great transporting right over the Facebook as well. So, and if you guys, again, if you're not following me on, subscribe to me on YouTube, please do so. It is The Palace Crime, Palace Crime. We are running our Justice series. We're going to do 5 segments. We're on segment number 3 of our Justice series. The first one was, the second one was money. The first one, oh man, I forget it already. I have to go back and look. Somebody look at my video and tell me what the first one I did was. I know the second series was money, and today is morality. And so back on our topic of the last 3. So a hidden bias in sentencing and decision making. A lot of people don't think that a prosecutor or a judge or a juror could have a hidden bias, right? Am I more likely to believe that a black male, or in law enforcement, a Bravo Mike, black male, who dresses the thuggish style, right? Or if I have a Whiskey Mike, a white male, who is dressed redneck to the redneck of the hillbillies of the trailer parks, right? If I were to look at them, then take somebody who's completely a cleaned up Bravo Mike and a cleaned up Whiskey Mike, and say, hey, based on appearance, which one of these did the crime? More likely than not, the majority of jurors, personal biases again, right? Prosecutors and judges are going to lean to the people who are dressed to look more street looking, to look more rugged. You come in clean, it's like, you could, but I'm going to lean on the opportunity that you speak well, you're dressed well, you present well. Even if you did, chances are you got caught in the heat of the moment and made a mistake. There's already a scenario built in the head when it comes to the hidden bias of sentencing, right? There is a reason when a defendant goes into court, they walk that defendant in an orange jumpsuit and shackles. If I were a defense attorney, I would immediately argue for mistrials right there because of a tainted jury at that point. My argument would be, you just brought him in handcuffs and shackles. What juror in their right mind would not believe that he's guilty? Because you just put a picture in their head that he's already presented as a guilty, heinous animal. He's come in handcuffed and shackles around the feet, right? And so, but in reality, it just could have been a protocol, or some officer could have just wanted to push their own agenda, right? Or the media, we needed a show for the media, right? Fake news. And now that taints that jury because of something that we unintentionally did that swayed the case, right? So think about those moments. You watch your Law and Order, your CSIs, your all of those shows, and think about, man, when I watched those shows, just because that person did walk in handcuffs, I did think, absolutely, it was adding up pretty good, and then dang, it took me by surprise, right? And so think about those. Bravo Charlie Blue Carver, absolutely, man. He says that's why we always tell you, clean cut. Nacho, welcome back. Clean cut when you stand in front of a judge. Normally, before a trial, the defendant is allowed to wear a suit, but that is depends on where he's at. And veterans 100% accurate, right? It depends. They usually say, hey, yeah, you can wear one, but bidding it didn't get lost, or that you could afford a nice suit. I sidestep a little bit here, sidebar. I never once hired a person when I managed to retail based on how you showed up to my interview, unless I could tell it was on purpose. I didn't so much care that if you showed up in a polo and jeans versus a button-down shirt and some black slacks, because what if you couldn't afford it? What if you couldn't afford it? A lot of people will say, well, anybody can go to the thrift store and get something donated. What if your pride didn't let you? Right? I'm sure veteran can tell you, a lot of us veterans are crazy. Some of us, my pride will never let me go ask somebody. I will go without, and I will risk my personality landing me great in front of a judge or a interviewer before I ask for something, right? And some of that's due to trauma. Um, but I know it's just not veterans that deal with that. It's everyday people that have those anxieties and trauma. So I know if I won't always do it, I'm not going to judge somebody sitting in front of me for doing that. And so back on my little topic, he says in the construction field, I hired based on what the tools look like. I'm guilty. But hey, look, if I'm not supplying you new tools and I require that you're a 1099 and you bring them, I may have to make that judgment, right? But if I'm going to supply them to you, if I'm going to supply you a retail uniform, why am I judging you based off of how you showed up? That's not what you're going to wear to work anyway. So great. You show me how much money you got at home? Yeah. So show up presentable. Now, don't show up in your house shoes, your pajamas, because you ain't going to come work in pajamas, right? And so think about that. But remember, in that hidden sentencing, right, you actually get to think about P. Diddy. We're going to talk about Diddy in this example. In that hidden bias, we decide who we charge and what they get charged with, right? So Diddy got charged with a lot, but the jury in this last one said no go, not guilty, but was found on the counts of prostitution. I don't know if I can say that word or not. So, but then we also decide as a judge whether we're going to accept plea offers, plea deals, which is why they always say, and you do understand as a part of your rights, I have the right as your judge to decline whatever offer the state's made to you, even if you both agree to the terms. You understand, correct? There's a reason a judge is telling you that, legally telling you that. They're warning you that, hey, if I don't agree with what's sitting in front of me and you don't know if I do or don't, you going to learn today. Caught myself because I almost said something different. But you're going to learn today. It could be less, but 9 times out of 10, it's going to be more. And it's probably going to be more strict, and they're probably going to add some more confining things to it, right? He says it would make me question, and I agree with that. Welcome in, Glaze. Welcome in. Thanks, you guys, for the tap shares. Guys, again, we're live here on YouTube. We're live on TikTok Live. We're live on Facebook. I forget the other one. We're live on 4, and then we're live on Riverside. So 5 different places we're live on. That way I don't have to keep, hey, let me do 30 minutes to an hour on TikTok, and then let me try to figure out another way here. I use the riverside.fm in my browser, use my stream key, and then I just log into YouTube and Facebook from there. So think about those. And then, that last unbiased piece or unbiased thinking piece, we're not unbiased, but hidden bias thinking piece is they get to determine how long that sentence is, how lethal, if you will, that sentence is. So kind of as I alluded to before with those plea offers, I get to determine, hey, P. Diddy, you going to spend another 11 years, bro? 11 years. 11 of them. What they say? 11 of them. 11 of them. Did I say that right? Hey. Huncho, welcome in. I see you. So number 4, moral bias often hides between and behind neutral laws. I like this one when I wrote it down. So a lot of people tell me I'm crazy and they don't agree with this. And you guys know I don't talk color and race too much. But if we look back at times in our law, the example I wrote down was laws were built around those in power. And to ensure those in power did not end up with lethal sentences, they built the laws around themselves. Lethal being harsh, dramatic, heinous, things like that, right? So I steal a candy bar and you gave me 20 years in prison for stealing a Snickers. And so take this into account. Crack cocaine is a party favor of a certain group, right? And the powdered Coca-Cola is a party favor, right? So we're talking black and white, of a different group. And so crack cocaine originally would get you a 10 to 20 year sentence, depending on how much you had, and it would count as a felony. But powdered gave you 2 to 3 initially before we ratified and changed. It gave you 2 to 3 years, and it was a misdemeanor. It's now been upgraded to a felony depending on the amount, and it gives you between 5 to 10. But crack cocaine is still 10 to 20 and a felony. We ask ourselves, why is that? Why? A drug is a drug. It's a hard drug, so it should be sitting there with cocaine, black tar heroin, fentanyl. It's all going to destroy your life. It's going to destroy whoever hits it, right? And so everything should be 10 to 20 years if that's the case. I shouldn't have different one of these. I know you guys are thinking, well, my grass ain't never hurt nobody. You know what? It's still illegal. So yeah, your grass too, up until it's legalized federally. I don't recognize local. I recognize federal, because you can do all of that smoking stuff that you want. But if you go for a federal job, that's a no-go. You get let loose in a heartbeat, because federally it's not recognized nationwide. And so, yep, the powder, the powder. And so, all right, guys, last one, jury dynamics and moral conformity. All right. So in group settings like juries, people often conform to see what's morally right. When we're determining a verdict, think about a hung jury, right? Somebody is like, one person's just holding us up, right? All of us are saying guilty or not guilty. Another person's like, oh no, they're guilty or they're not guilty. And so if one dominant voice in the jury thinks guilty with morality, if he did drugs, he must be guilty, right? But you ain't even up here for a drug charge. You're up here for shoplifting. But you got to be guilty if you was out there smoking that weed, though, because if you break one law, you're going to break all of them. Others may subconsciously agree to maintain a group harmony. It's like, you know what, man? I got weekend plans. I ain't trying to be in here. You know what? You ain't too far off. If he breaking one law, he may be breaking another one. We don't know, but hey, you put yourself in this position, brother. Guilty. And that one person's over there going, hey, for some reason, that's not always the case. He could be a shoplifter and not be a dopehead. There's a difference. People have crimes of choice, right? Just like they have drugs of choice. They have that. So those are things that I want everybody to keep in mind. So look, in summary, influencing how they interpret facts is how we account for morals, who it affects, and how it shapes your decision through moral judgment. I'm going to leave you this question for moral judgment, okay? This is my question to you. Hang on, my computer's freaking out. All right. There it goes. Okay, so here we go. Here's my question around you to my 2 people that are in here, or 3 people that are in here. Um, and I'm going to turn this into a video, so feel free to put your answer on the video. Don't put it in this chat. Put your answer on the video. Imagine yourself standing on a cliff, similar to the one that Scar dropped Mufasa from. No, it builds the reference in your head. That cliff overlooks a railroad track. You, you look out to your left and you see a train steaming down, black smoke coming up from the stacks, and it's steaming down. You look in front of that train, there is a group of people who are trying to get someone who's stuck on the tracks off. And you have 2 options. There's a guy who's about 3,000 pounds. You can push him off the cliff, and he lands about 100 feet from the other people. But that train's going to smash into him and derail and avoid the group of 5. Or you stand there and you watch the group of 5 be pulverized why you express sorrow and sympathy to the 3,000-pound man. When you talk about morals, and you have to take an action, can't just not take one. So if you have to take an action, which action do you take? Do you push the 3,000 man down so he lands in the tracks and the train hits him and he's so heavy that it derails and you save five? Or do you let it pulverize five people? I know you're thinking, well, I can scream, shout, throw something. You could, but it doesn't change the fact that they're still stuck on those tracks. So do we push the guy down or do we let the train run over five people? Which one do we pick? Okay. And guys, as per usual, that's the last one that I have for you. So I am going to close you out with our Palace crime here. I appreciate every last one of you. Thank you so much. Let's see if I can get my setup here of what I wanted to do for y'all. Let's see if it's here. Let's see. So we're going to go to our media, and I'm going to close you guys out with my Palace crime. Let's see if we get this here. That's me. I think I might be having some technical issues, y'all. Here's the Riverside intro. You guys made this be out of luck. I was hoping to get but hey, that's okay. So no worries. Oh, there we go.
They say justice is blind, but no one ever said it was fair.
Powered by Riverside
All right.
FM.
So that's all we got, guys. I'm going to get out of here. Everyone have a great night. I appreciate you. Thank you so